Hey everybody, welcome back to Boost Your Income with Bootstrap to WordPress. This lecture is called Coding the Header and Navigation section. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is open up our code editor and make sure to open your index.html file, the file that we've been working with. And in this lecture, we're going to be adding our header section with the navigation bar, and we're going to be using some Bootstrap HTML with some CSS classes in there so that we can utilize the Bootstrap CSS that is pre-built. And on that thought, I already know that we haven't included a link to our Bootstrap CSS. That's incredibly important. So why don't we, right here under our title, before we start anything, this will save some headaches. Add a comment here, Bootstrap core CSS. And under there, we're going to add a link. And the href will be assets/css/ not CSSS, bootstrap.min.css. We're using min because it's minified and takes less time to load. Plus, we won't be modifying the CSS, so we don't need to access the full readable CSS file. Let's save some time, right? Rel style sheet. Great. And save that. Now we have access to our Bootstrap core CSS. Now let's jump right in and start coding. So in here, in our header, why don't we get started right away and give this header the class of site-header, and the role of banner. Role is an attribute, just gives us a little bit more, makes the code a little bit more semantic. Class site header, we'll probably use that a little bit later in WordPress, and it just makes our code a little bit more semantic. So we know that this header is the site header because we will likely use the header HTML somewhere else throughout the site. Okay, within our header, let's add a comment, HTML comment. This will be navbar. All right, let's do a div. Let's give that div the class of navbar-wrapper. That is a Bootstrap class. And I just like adding comments here. Navbar-wrapper, so I know that that is the ending div. And in here, we're going to add a bunch of Bootstrap HTML. I'll show you what I'm going to be coding. So I'll code this really fast here, but I'll show you where you can reference it. You can obviously reference the final static HTML file, or right here in getbootstrap.com/components, if you were to go to navbar, the default navbar, they give you code right here that you can just copy. So this code right here gives you this navbar. Our navbar obviously looks different. It's very simple. We have the logo brand right here and just a few navigation items pulled to the right. So you would basically use all of this HTML here, but you remove the HTML that you don't actually need. We don't need the drop downs. We don't need the search. We don't need all that sort of stuff. And I've already done that and included it in the static HTML file, but I'll go ahead and code that right now. And the CSS classes that you'll see that I'm using, those are the built-in Bootstrap CSS classes. So if you're confused, thinking, Brad, what are all these classes? You're just coming off the top of your head. They're actually Bootstrap classes. You can reference them and see them in the actual Bootstrap CSS if you want to know a little bit more about what they do. But this course isn't necessarily about how Bootstrap works and how the CSS works. It's basically, let's use Bootstrap to build a website real fast. So here we go, real fast, let's code this navbar. All right, so div. That div, we're going to give it the class of navbar. Again, these are all Bootstrap classes. Also, navbar-inverse. This is going to make the navbar black rather than white or light gray. Navbar-fixed-top, that is going to make the navbar fixed at the top. So when you scroll down, it will always stay at the very top. Role navigation makes it just a little bit more semantic. And inside of here, let's just give that a comment and say navbar. I like when I could see what my divs are doing. Div, we're going to give that the class of container. That's going to wrap, that's a Bootstrap class. and it will give us the content inside the nav bar. Right now, the nav bar is full width, but we want the content within it, our brand logo and the navigation items, we want those to be within a container that is centered in the middle of the screen. So that's what that's going to do. Bam, just like that, real easy. Div, class of navbar dash header. Again, Bootstrap class. Inside navbar header, we're going to add a button, and that button will have the type of button, the class navbar toggle, and basically what this is going to do is going to toggle the navbar when it's responsive. When you shrink the website, you'll get a little sandwich icon that you can click to toggle the navbar, and that's what Bootstrap will be doing here. Data toggle. This is a Bootstrap attribute. Collapse. Data target. Bootstrap attribute. Class, so dot navbar dash collapse. So these things, just so I can be very minimal about my explanation here, these are just default Bootstrap attributes and classes. They're on the getbootstrap.com website. All the documentation there is if you want to know, what these are all about. But essentially all you need to know is they work. So use them. All right, span. We're going to have some spans here. This first one, class SR only. That's a Bootstrap class for screen readers only. It'll only show this text, toggle navigation, if you're visiting the site from a screen reader, which is good. People with visual impairment or anything like that, the screen reader will read this text and will tell them that this button is, it will toggle the navigation. So really great for usability. You should always think about usability. No excuses. So icon bar, copy that 2 more times. This is just going to give us a little line. Bootstrap class is going to give us 3 lines. So it looks like a sandwich. After that, why don't we save that and just give that a little look? All right, so here is our navigation bar. It's just a big black bar at the top. We have nothing inside of it. Technically, everything's good so far. Let's shrink that. There's our sandwich. Perfect. Let's go back to our code and let's continue. We're going to add an A tag with the class of navbar dash brand and the href of /. That will basically tell Bootstrap, because there is some CSS in the Bootstrap CSS that will align the navigation, the logo of the website in the correct spot on the navigation bar. Plus, it's semantic. Image, source, assets, /image, /logo.png. Alt tag, don't forget your alt tags. This will be Bootstrap to WordPress. And I'm going to save that. And then below our navbar header, we have another div. And that div will have the class of navbar-collapse and collapse. So collapse, there we go. Basically, if you look here, this button, the data target and toggle, you see the navbar toggle and the data toggle collapse, and right here, navbar collapse and data toggle collapse. So this is telling the HTML to look for this div right here. So when you click this button, it's going to toggle this div and the content within it. And so maybe you guessed it, and here we're going to put our navigation items. So UL class of nav, navbar-nav, navbar-right. Not really sure why there has to be so many classes there, but that's the way Bootstrap does it. This will pull our navigation bar to the right, so that's useful. Navbar-nav, not really sure what that one's about. And nav, again, they're just part of the Bootstrap CSS. Documentation probably explains it. If it works, it works. We're good to go. All right, in here, we're going to have some li tags. The first one will have li class of active. And that is a custom class that we're going to be doing a little bit later. We're going to have to make the navigation bar, the item that you're currently on, the page that you're on, we want to highlight that navigation item so that people know, hey, I'm on the home page, hey, I'm on the blog page, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to put that there because it will be used eventually. If you forget it at this point, that's okay. We'll come across the issue a little bit later and then we'll add it. Ahref, and that will be / and that will be the home. So that one is a class of active. Below that, we're going to add some more. There will be no class on that one. Ahref blog.html. So we don't have a blog.html page yet, but we will. So I'm just going to put it in there now so we don't have to do it later. Blog.html. This item will be blog. Copy that, paste it a couple more times. Now you just need to change these values. So resources, this text will be resources, and this one will be contact. And that will be contact. Save that. And let's check that out and see if we've got ourselves a nice nav bar. There we go. We got our logo, Bootstrap to WordPress, home, blog, resources, contact. Looking pretty good. And you see how it's active? There we go. I just realized I lied. The active class is not my class. I didn't add that. It's actually a Bootstrap class. There is an active class. My mistake. That's okay. So this is the active class. So whatever item has active on it will look like that. And we'll obviously in the future use WordPress to dynamically decide what page we are on. Awesome. So that is our header and navigation bar, all in this snippet right here. Hopefully that made sense to you. And I'll see you in the next lecture where we're going to be coding ourselves the hero section, this nice one right here. All right, see you there, friends.